Joining us now across America, another Godzilla of the truth, the chief economist in the White House on trade for the president, Peter Navarro. Peter, it's good to have you, sir.
Hey, John, I'm honored to be an FOJ, and that opener that you gave, man, you know what's going on about this situation, and you nailed it. I just love listening to you. I don't know if I can add anything to that, frankly.
Well, Peter is an FOJ. He's a friend of John. We know each other a long time. One of the most exciting things I learned is when that he was going into key position in the White House, and I knew to him, I said, you know what, there is a God. Just bide your time. Peter's going to figure this out. And this is a great day, Peter, in America. It's a great day for the workers. It's a great day for manufacturing. It's a great day for what made this country what it is, building things. And you can't have a country without steel. And, you know, the people that are just whining, the Goldman Sachs group, they don't care if the American worker lives or dies. They could care less. All they care about is they can get cheap goods or cheap labor. But here, explain this thing. The naysayers saying, okay, this is going to create some kind of global Armageddon because costs are going to go up. Can you debunk that for us, Peter?
Let's debunk that myth. But let me start by saying, first of all, this president is amazing. That event we had in the Roosevelt Room yesterday, where we brought in workers from the factories that make our aluminum and steel, from Western Kentucky, from Ohio, other places. Man, those guys were amazing. We had one guy from Hawesville, Kentucky, who was talking about how his father had worked in the factories for 40 years, and that he had a job and he was in danger of losing that job within a matter of months. But the president was going to come in with those tariffs, and the day the president committed to those tariffs, the owner of the factory, Century Aluminum, committed $100 million to modernize and revitalize those factories and give those workers some security. And these people are salt of the earth. Another guy who was in there is makes steel. He he lost his job in Texas and found a job where one of the diminishing plants was the shrinking plants, and he was so thankful to the tariffs. Here's some stats for you. Aluminum, we lost 6 smelters since 2013. We're only down to 5 left. Only 2 operate at full capacity. Only one provides us with the high-purity aluminum we need for defense applications, and we buy more than 90% of our needs from imports. I mean, that industry's on the ropes, and you have these people saying, wow, you don't want to rescue those industries, you don't want to defend them. As the president said, we need an aluminum steel industry to have a country. Now, the cost thing, that's just so bogus. You take a 10% tariff on aluminum, what does that add to a 6-pack of beer or soda? $1.50 cents. $1.50 cents. Go the other end of the spectrum, John. A 777 Boeing, one of the best aircraft ever made. 10% tariff on aluminum adds $25,000. Now, that's a lot of money to you and I, but that's a $330 million aircraft, so the cost increase is less than 1,000th of 1%. So all this argument about how these downstream effects are going to be happening and create inflation and jobs, it's all smoke from the swamp. I mean, this was so hard to get to the finish line because these swamp creatures. It's the K Street lobbyists. It's the politicians who have been telling us the wrong thing for years. But yesterday, the president did something historic, and it was a great day for America.
It really was what he did yesterday. And, you know, all of the naysayers out there, Peter, it's just amazing to listen to them. Because these are the same people. I mean, it's like the people who are saying, oh, my God, this is going to initiate a trade war. It's like laughable to me. We're in a trade war. We're getting annihilated. You try to sell a car, Peter, try to sell a U.S.-made car in a U.S.-made factory with American hands in Germany. Try to ship it to Berlin. 29% you have to pay. 10% tariff right off the top. 19% value-added tax. The Germans ship the car to the U.S., they pay 2.5%. How does that make any sense?
Well, you know, the other thing that the president announced yesterday is we're going to try to come up with some reciprocal tax legislation to address precisely that. Hey, they're going to charge us 29% for a Ford going into Berlin. We're going to charge them 29% for a Beamer coming in. And that's this kind of thing that'll get attention. Everybody in America, we're free traders, but we want fairness, right? We want reciprocal trade. And when you put it in that frame, I mean, China, let's take China. They ship us a car, 2.5% tariff, just like you said. We ship them a car, 25% tariff. It's crazy. And so, the president's been talking about this certainly during the campaign, but he goes back 20 years seeing the effect on the men and women of America trying to work with their hands and make stuff. And he gets it. And it's so good that we're going to be in a situation now where everybody that we trade with is on notice that if they want to trade with us, the biggest market in the world, the most lucrative market in the world, they got to be fair. And that's what the president's about, fairness.
Exactly, and getting our jobs back and getting our steel plants back. Peter, on the call yesterday, you mentioned that U.S. Steel was already bringing 500 steel workers back in a plant in Illinois. You also mentioned
Granite City, great plant.
Tell us about that, and also the new $100 million investment in the aluminum plant in Kentucky.
Yeah, so this is the beauty. When these people criticize tariffs, one of the interesting benefits of that the president fully understands is it attracts new investment both domestically and from foreigners. For example, when the president put tariffs on last month on solar and washing machines, 30% on solar, almost up to 50% on washing machines. The next thing that happened was you had the South Koreans and others coming in to invest here, to build those things here with American hands in American plants. And in this case, we have an even better situation where it's domestic investment taking place. U.S. Steel has some facilities in Granite City that the day the president announced that he was going to do this, they announced that they were going to open those plants. It's 500 employees, as you said. And you know what? These guys and women, they make like $90,000 in wages and benefits. These are the kind of wages for hard work that Americans want. So President Trump is attracting investment here and just creating these manufacturing jobs. It's a great thing.
So the other criticism we're getting as far as the retaliation, like I just had Congressman Rob Whitman on from Central Virginia. And he said, well, there's a lot of manufacturers in my district, and they're very afraid now that the cost of steel is going to go up. I think you already addressed that with the Boeing example. The other example is that if you're only producing 10% of your aluminum needs in the United States, and your steel industry is only producing 33% of capacity, you're not getting the efficiencies, the pricing efficiencies that you would get in production if your capacity went up, right? I mean, that's just basic economics.
And let me say this. Look, we've been fighting this battle, and we got to the finish line yesterday. The president, it was a wonderful thing. But I tell you, what I've learned from my 14 months here in the swamp is that these people just use arguments to scare people. It's all scare tactics. Oh, there's going to be inflation. Oh, there's going to be job losses. Oh, there's going to be retaliation. It's just smoke in these cases. What the president is trying to do is simply create good jobs and good wages for the American people. And this whole idea of retaliation is just silly. I mean, think about this. All of our major trading partners run huge trading surpluses with us. That's right. We run deficits with them. So if any one of them tries to bully us with any kind of retaliatory measures, who are they hurting? They're hurting themselves, not us. So, this whole talk of retaliation, it just doesn't see the chessboard properly. And all we're doing is defending ourselves. And I tell you what, John, in this particular case, if our allies can't understand that we need to defend our iron, steel, and aluminum industries, they're not going to get it at all because, guess what? When Japan needs one of our battleships in the South China Sea or the East China Sea, if we don't have a steel industry to make that, where are we at? So let's put this all in perspective. And this is important for America, and it was yesterday. It doesn't get much better than yesterday for the Republic.
It really doesn't. We're with Peter Navarro. He's the assistant to the president for trade and industry policy. And Peter Navarro, if you know him, has been fighting this war on trade for a very long time. And he's an FOJ friend of John, been with us in this battle. Hey, I just got to tell you this, the irony, and we got a couple more minutes to go forward on what's in the future. But, Peter, the grand irony of this, as I was saying earlier, is that it's the Republicans that are complaining right now in Congress about these tariffs, calling it a trade war, and it doesn't fit their ideological dogma, white paper, Heritage Foundation, orthodoxy, or whatever, and they're scaring people. But it's the same Republicans that gave this authority to the president by giving it to President Obama, by giving him fast track so they could sneak TPP through, right? Remember that? So they gave it to
I've always
Obama.
found that to be so interesting that we're able to finally renegotiate NAFTA under the TPP authority. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, look, there's a lot of folks on the Hill. I think a large majority of the folks on the Hill who are going to support the NAFTA renegotiation that Ambassador Lighthizer is leading. And, we're going to get a good deal out of that with a guy like Lighthizer at the helm and the president at the top. So let's see what happens there. But for now, we did aluminum and steel. We've done solar. We've done washing machines. The next thing that's coming, John, is one of the most important things for this country. China has been stealing our intellectual property. When our companies go over to China to set up shop, they're required basically to turn over their intellectual property. It's called forced technology transfer. And we're doing a 301 action that the president directed, which will allow us basically to crack down on those kinds of abuses. So if you're looking into your crystal ball, what's next at the White House, that's going to be the next thing on the table. And that one is really big because, China's stealing all our tech. If they steal all our tech for the industries of the future, we have no future.
So, Peter Navarro, how does that work? Because to go over there and build the plant, my understanding under that Chinese law is you have to turn everything over to them. So how would you, and that's their law in China, so we go there, that's part of the deal. A plant goes there, they have to turn it over. How would you stop
Sure,
that?
let's talk about this. Is like for your listeners, this is really kind of interesting. So go back to what we said earlier. So China will charge a 25% tariff, say, on automobiles. So if you're a auto company here and you want to sell into the Chinese market, what China does with those tariffs is basically force you to go over and build your cars in China, and there's no jobs for America. So
right.
Then a company will go over there, and then in order to actually produce in China, they say, well, give me your latest technology. Give me your latest technology on new energy vehicles. So our companies can learn to build the cars of the future. Well, you're here for a short period of time and maybe make a few bucks now, but we strip you later. That's how it would work.
Right.
So we're going to crack down on that. I don't want to reveal the elements of the actual plan before it's released, but I'm just saying that we'll be taking some actions related to this issue, and that's what's next on the plate. And we got to deal with this one. China forcing tech transfer and stealing our intellectual property and technologies of the future, and we got no future unless we deal with it.
Peter, I got a text here from one of our listeners, Den Black, and he says, John, tell Peter, I don't think you can do this because you're at the White House, so I can do it. I can plug Peter's book and DVD called Death by China. Peter can't do it because he's at the White House, but I can do it. Death by China, Peter Navarro. This is a book that I read that I got to tell you, and Peter, you can't comment on it, that I got to tell you, this is a must-read. Get it on Amazon. You've got to read this. And Peter, sidebar aside, China is exporting 50% of the world's steel. Does that keep you up at night?
There's a lot of things that China does, and if they all kept me up at night, I'd be dead by now because I'd never get any sleep. But the president is firm in his commitment to deal with that. But look, it's been great talking to you. I got to run now. I apologize for
we're out of time
for dropping out a little early, but duty calls here at the White House. And John, I'll be on your show anytime you call me back.
Peter, thank you. I really appreciate you having you on. Peter Navarro, assistant to the president for trade and industry policy. Peter, thanks for being with us. John Fredericks Radio Network.